time is it? Go on. Um, ah. Good afternoon, my beautiful babes and babettes. I'm snapping. And I'm your resident active advocate. Don't worry, I am on my game. I would like to discuss with you today the very last book on the roster, and if I have to make a part 2, I will on Monday, because I take weekends off. But I would like to talk today to you about the book Don't Touch by Rachel M. Wilson. And I'm fairly positive I got the author right this time. Alright, so this book is about our protagonist starting at a new school. I would just like to point out the rather common trope in children's literature of the protagonist starting at a new school. This coming from a woman currently writing a new adult novel about 4 siblings who all start at a new school. But I think that this trope is so common because not only are new schools excellent proving grounds for anything you feel you have to prove, but they are also rare opportunities / challenges to reinvent yourself if you see the need to do so. So in the case of our protagonist, Caddie, it's either Katie or Caddy, make of it what you will. She is beginning at a new school just after her parents have split up, and the disability most prevalent in this novel is Caddie's, I'm going to call her Caddie's OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, combined with what people have called magical thinking, and I will explain this. So, Caddie's OCD does not allow for her to touch other people or for other people to touch her directly. So, skin to skin contact like this would be very difficult for her, and it makes her extremely nervous and brings up a whole bunch of anxiety issues for her. And as the novel progresses, the issue actually becomes worse. But where the magical thinking aspect of this comes in is that Caddie believes her mantra is step on a crack, break your mother's back, touch another person, dad will never come back, or something similar to that. And she believes that if she refrains from touching another person's skin, that her father will come back willingly and lovingly into her life. Magical thinking is a symptom of some mental health disorders, but it can also occur not only in children, but just in people who are uncertain or who are desperate enough for a certain thing to happen, that they believe, and all superstition falls into this category, by the way, they believe that if they do a certain thing or refrain from doing a certain thing, that this will happen. Step on a crack, break your mother's back, don't do things in intervals of 13. This is in Western culture. Anyway, over in the East, I've heard it's number 4, representative of death, that it has the same relation to the Westerners' conception of the number 13. And in different cultures there are a whole bunch of different superstitions. I think one of them in Russia is like you don't mail a letter on a Tuesday, you never give such and such things as gifts. There are certain superstitions throughout different parts of the world, and pretty much everyone is susceptible to some degree to superstition. But when superstition is ramped up to a higher extent, combined possibly with some form of mental health disorder, then it becomes magical thinking. It is a certainty in my mind that if I do this or refrain from doing this, then this really good thing that I want to happen will happen, or this really bad thing that I want to avoid will not happen. So that is Caddie's internalization of the kind of control she feels she has over her situation. Though that control is not real, it is her motivating factor for not touching another person. However, this is also combined, as I say, with severe social anxiety. Caddy, though, does have very artistic tendencies and joins the drama club at her new school and gets the role of Ophelia in Hamlet. For anyone who has read this play, you know that Ophelia's role is extraordinarily important to the plot. And her new love interest, Peter, gets the role of Hamlet. So she is considering stretching or even breaking her own self imposed rules for the sake of being able to play this part properly, but it just doesn't seem to be worth it to her on some level to violate these boundaries that she has set up for herself, even if it means being able to play Ophelia. So throughout the novel, she is trying to come to a compromise with the drama instructor and with Peter and with herself and with her friends, that throughout the role and actually throughout her entire school year, that she wears gloves, and you see that this is a manifestation of her OCD. But being in the drama club and having the friends that she does, she is able to write this off as a form of artistic eccentricity. And there are more than one people at her school with these sorts of eccentricities. The problem is she literally never takes the gloves off, except in bed. And they start getting dirty, they start getting tattered, and people are wondering, why is she not at least changing these gloves? So the part her friends play in this is that they do try to encourage her to not only take off the gloves, but they also open her up to the possibility of trusting people outside of her family unit, which after the divorce she felt incapable of doing. Because if people within my family unit are not safe, people outside my family unit are definitely not safe, because they're not going to understand what's going on in here. And they're not going to understand that if I have control over this aspect of my life, then my whole life surrounding will fall back into place at some point. That is the extent of Caddy's magical thinking. But at the end of at the end of the novel, when her father does show back up, it's first in the form of phone calls, and he's very ambivalent about whether he wants to see her at all or to see her mother at all, to be in their lives at all. And this is, of course, very disappointing for Caddy, because she wants her father in her life. You know, she wants him to be there. And he keeps hemming and hawing about it, which makes Caddy question her magical thinking, but not to such an extent as will make her stop with the whole gloves thing. At the end of the novel, when he disappoints her one more time, there's this whole aspect of, why didn't it work? Why doesn't it work? You know, what kind of control do I really have? And this is the point at which Caddy starts going into a far greater depth of mental illness and greater anxiety. And none of this is helpful for her mental state. But for the sake of not spoiling the ending, I'm going to stop there. Spoiler alert for the rest of it, by the way, although I pretty much just touched the perimeter of the periphery of this thing. If I have to make a part 2, as I say, I will do that on Monday, because I take weekends off, but I intend to consult with my lovely consultant, who is lovely, and I will get back to you about that on Monday. If I do not have to make a part 2, then on Monday we will start on our next series on the importance of recognizing and negating the effect of infantilization in regards to people with disabilities. This is a real world phenomenon, a real world problem, and it can touch people even who do not have disabilities, but I will expound upon this in greater detail when we begin that series, because I think that this is a very important problem to address. By the way, that's me going under my desk. So I will, in either case, talk to y'all on Monday, because I take weekends off. Mwah! It's very, very snowy outside. I don't know what it's like where you are. Stay warm if it's cold where you are. Stay cool if it's hot where you are. You know, stay classy, San Francisco. Mwah! Bye.